When I thought about this, Carolyn, putting our playbook ops information and sharing it, I'm like, feels a little disconnected. But then I listened to McKay last night talk about your leadership brand, and what is that? And we're jumping right into it. I mean, the reality is simply this, I love business. I love everything about business. I spent the last 8 years building this concept of RizeX with one thing in mind. How can we create rooms? How can we create impact in organizations all across the world? Now, we obviously have a small impact because we're here in Eastern Idaho. But as I've watched and as I've had these conversations, I've watched you guys expand your businesses and have reach that is innumerable. And I've loved that. I've loved sitting around the tables in these little round table conversations that we have and watch people create questions or bring opportunities to the table. The one thing I continuously hear every single time is I have an opportunity in my business, but I'm feeling burnout. The reality is this, you're not burnout, your business is broken, right? So how many of the processes in your company are reliant on you? Raise your hand. How many of you are the thought leader in your company? You're the driver, you're the person, and everything that you do runs through you. We're all there, right? So here's the question. If you had to take a month off, what would break first? A month. If you had to take a month off. Or if Garrett gave you guys the flexibility to take a month off, we'll go for it. Just don't come back, right, Garrett? What process in your business depends on one person's knowledge? Right? Think about it. Amy, what happens if something happened to you in your business? You couldn't translate that, right? It's a concept that we call tribal knowledge. If you have all the information that you know about your company, about the way you operate, and it's all in your head, guess what happens when something breaks? Or when someone leaves? Or that person in your organization that decides, I'm going to go somewhere else. I don't like the culture. I don't like the demand on my time, and they walk out the door. What happens to that person? Painful, right? Painful, okay? Here's another interesting question. Jared, where do you or your team spend most of the amount of time repeating yourself?
Where do we?
No, just in general, right? How many times do you repeat yourself to your employees about the same thing that you just told them yesterday? And they don't process, right? Or, and I shouldn't say that because they're intelligent people, but the reality is we have to repeat things over and over to really get it, right? But how many times do they rely on you to do that versus using information that now you have put into the world or into your business that they can look at and find information about to execute the work effectively, right? Great businesses don't rely on people. They run on systems. Now, you need great people in the organization to execute the systems, but great businesses don't rely on people. They rely on the systems of operations that help execute the work. I shared this statistic in our panel this morning. 70% of organizations from 500,000 in revenue to 20 plus million in revenue have never documented a standard operating procedure. They know it, they get it, they execute, they do their thing. You start with one person, you do the work, you hire another person. Now the two of you are jamming, we've got this, we totally understand it. And all of a sudden your business takes a significant leap and you hire 7 people. Now we've created complexity. My friend Eric Madsen talks about that. The complex dynamic, the burnout sensation. Well, think about this. How many of you have been to a McDonald's, not in your hometown, and it felt like you were back at the same McDonald's? Right? McDonald's is a system. The people are just operators of that system. I love this book. I've read it several times. I love the dynamics behind it. My background is in engineering, and I love systems. The E-Myth says if your business depends on you, you don't own a business, you own a job. So I'm going to ask the question, how many of you feel today like your business is owning you versus you owning your business? Yeah, sometimes we feel like that, okay? So you're probably not burned out because here's the burnout cycle. Growth creates complexity. Questions, interruptions increase. There we go. And then you think about this, right? The interruptions increase. Guys like Garrett just go, it's just faster for me to do it myself. Katie's sitting there thinking, if I could translate this, it would be helpful, but I don't have the time. Nor do I ever want to sit down and type up a standard operating procedure. Are you kidding me? Nails on a chalkboard to a visionary, right, Katie? But every time I have conversations with people at our RizeX roundtables, it's this same burnout cycle. When they say I'm burnout, it's this right here. It's the complexity of running an organization. The larger you scale your organization, it doesn't mean just because you have people it gets easier. It becomes more complex. Okay? You cannot work your way out of a burnout cycle. You have to redesign it. So what I'm going to show you, just some software that we built, and the premise of building this software was for this simple reason. Over the last 20 plus years in my business career, my entrepreneurial journey, which has been a journey, I've been owner-operator, I've had all the hats, I've delegated hats, I've delegated roles, responsibilities, and every time I've done that when I didn't have the system, the EOS framework, I know Dale and Eric are here, when I didn't have the EOS framework, it was what we called the rubbernecking syndrome. Have you ever been in that situation where you read a book, you go this way. You read another book, you go another way. And it's like, I don't know which way we're going to go because we can't build the system to help the execution flow work in the right way, okay? But my call to action, if you will, today, or my plea for you, if you are feeling what we've talked about today, if you standardize your business, it simplifies it. Not completely, but there are elements that it does help simplify. Most businesses fail at SOPs. Why? Because they live in your head. You know how to do it, but nobody else does. They're too complex, long documents no one looks at. How many of you have built a standard operating procedure, put it in a folder on your hard drive, or thrown it onto the Google Drive, and then you come to that scenario again, and you're like, now where did I put that document? Right? I know I swear I outlined this like 2 years ago, but where do I find it? Or how do I even use that to do work? Because what I wrote 2 years ago probably changed significantly in the last 6 months. Where my standard operating procedure carried a ton of things, now it only carries this much. And I need to break it down even more to make sure the execution works. So think about that. They don't get followed, right? You have them. There's a lack of accountability, a lack of execution. I'm going to bring Katie up here in just a minute, but Katie and I had the opportunity to work through. Actually, come up here, Katie. So my friend Katie Gasser, she runs, and their booth is out there visiting angels. Katie and I, we spent not a very long time together. I mean, you've been part of RizeX for a long time. Oh, let me give you your mic. Here we go. Okay, here you go. See if that's on. Check, check.
Hello, everybody.
There we go. This is Katie. Everybody, Katie.
Hi, guys.
So, Katie, we were sitting at a RizeX table, and we had the conversation like, I know I need to do something. My business is overwhelming. We just took on this new company. We bought it. My friend Charity and I were running it. And Eric, our EOS implementer, said we need to build standard operating procedures for our company.
Yeah, well, when two new people start running a business together, I was like, Eric, I need your help to figure out who has strengths where and what people love to do. Because I want everybody doing what they love, and then it'll just run easier.
Yeah, so we've got to figure out, number one, how to define what that is. And then more importantly, right, if you bring new people to the table, you have to give them roles and responsibilities.
Right.
And those roles and responsibilities need to be clear, but those roles and responsibilities are then tied to a standard operating procedure to help you execute the company, right?
Correct.
And you had it here. I mean, you're like, I've been doing this for years. I remember Charity, you're both like, well, we've been in the industry for a long time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep, our whole lives.
You've done it the way you know how to do it. You
Yeah.
bring a certain skill set because of the brilliance that you bring to business. And now you're like, how do we document it?
Right. Well, and I think the goal with every business is growth, right? You want to expand, help more people. So in order to do that in a, productive way, everyone needs to do it the same.
Yeah, so a little over a year ago, I started a company called the Business Master Blueprint. The purpose of that was to sit down with companies and say, hey, what is the thing that you're running into? What's the bottleneck that you're experiencing? What are the problems you're facing? And as we started talking through those, again, these things called standard operating procedures came up.
It's kind of the base, right?
I know, it is.
That was one of the first things Eric told me that we needed to redo.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, put it on my calendar. And it sat there and sat there.
Why? Tell me why
and
it sat there. Why did it sit there?
Okay, for me,
Yeah.
if I have to sit at my computer for longer than an hour and a half, I want to bang my head against the wall.
Right.
I like to meet people, talk to people, help people.
Yeah.
So, and the day-to-day stuff, right? You're like, well, that's just writing down an SOP, so I can do that when I have time.
When I create
Yep.
the time, or when I have time, right?
When I have time,
Yeah.
which is a myth.
It's a myth.
Yes,
We have to take the time to
we
create
have
it.
to make the time.
But so let me ask you another question from the mindset of it. Like, do you love writing SOPs?
Now?
No, before.
No.
No. How many of you really love sitting down and building standard operating procedures for the company that you're running right now? Do you see it? Oh, yeah, we got one. One out of the room. Yeah. No, we don't. I look at it as like nails on a chalkboard.
100%.
Some people don't understand. You realize in like 5 years, people aren't going to understand what that means, like nails on a chalkboard?
Oh,
Because
never
now
thought
everything's
about that.
whiteboards or glass, or it's
That's true.
We don't have that anymore. Anyway, so I digress. But so what I want to do is I want to show you so Katie and I, we sat down for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Before our meeting, I said, all right, Katie, I want you to outline all of the standard operating procedures. Talk to Charity, talk to your team members. Let's go through a list of 25
Yeah.
in 3 hours.
I think we ended up doing about 30.
30.
31.
Yeah. And we
Yeah.
just said, tell me. I recorded it,
Yep.
transcribed it, kicked you back in SOP.
Yep.
And we did it again,
Yep.
and again, and again. Now, at the time, we didn't have this technology, which was really an eye-opening experience for me. I'm like, I don't want to sit here and record this and do this over and over and over again. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't transcribing myself. We had, I think
Yeah.
it was Descript we were using at the time to do that. But what happened is I delivered the standard operating procedures, and what happened?
And then they were just done.
They were done. Well, not
You
only
don't-
that, but what happened after that?
Well, then we started executing. Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah. But you don't realize when you have a giant task like that that's been sitting on your calendar for months and months and months, the space it takes up in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a mental block of like, I know I need to do this, it's on my list.
Yeah, it's just
have
sitting there in the back
One
of your
of
mind.
555 things as a business
Yep.
owner that I know I need to get to, but why do I need to do that? I just get it. I know how to do it.
Right.
I can teach Adria how to do it.
Right.
Adria, just come with me. Let's go. I'll just teach you. And then you let Adria off on her own, and she's like, Katie, now how did you do that again?
Right.
And then you take twice the amount of time to train, right?
100%.
Yeah. So as I was going through this again, and this conversation has been so meaningful and helpful to me because I realized that one of the biggest complexities of business is documenting processes. Number one, and then executing those documents. Number
Correct.
two. Yeah. So I want to show you a quick little demo. We're going to pull this up. I have a brother-in-law, my business partner. They say don't do business with family, but I love this guy. He's brilliant with business. And I took this concept and I shared with him. I did what Ryan talked about earlier. We recorded everything. We recorded all the conversations to build the proper prompting framework so that when a conversation happened, I could put it in here. We actually built this so that every single person could use it on their own. But let me show you how cool this is. I'm pretty proud of it. So we have this little concept called the Document Wizard. The Document Wizard is a system where you can generate any type of document that you would like to. So let's just say, for instance, and Katie and I are going to go through a little experience today. I'm hoping technology saves us and not fails us today. But
We're
the
going
idea,
to show you how easy it
I'm going
is.
to show you how cool this
Cool
is,
it
right?
is.
And like Ryan was talking about, if you ever have to type a standard operating procedure, it's a pain. So we decided, what if we voice dictate it? So here we go. What do you want to dictate today? What do you want to talk about today?
Let's
Let's talk about a process.
client intake.
Client intake. So tell me
Yeah.
about client intake. What does that mean?
So process of client intake is once that client's like, I understand what you're going to do for me. I think we need to move forward. We go to their house and proceed to get all the information we need and learn about that client.
Okay. So as you can see, it's transcribing as we're talking. And we're just going to go through this. On this right-hand side, you'll see there's 8 specific things that we want to gather of each process that's being executed, okay? So we start there, and it asks questions, okay? Total sense. So this is a client intake process. The moment someone says, yes, I'm ready to move forward. Now, let's take a step back. Before we dig into the steps, help us understand the bigger picture a little bit. What kind of work does your company do?
We do private in-home care for seniors, so keeping seniors in their home as long as they possibly can stay safely.
What an amazing work you're doing. Okay, it's going to prompt us. Oh, that's wonderful work. So don't you love AI? Sometimes it makes you feel like you're a true champion.
We already
It's like
did this
cheering
together.
you on all the time, like, you got it right.
I know, we
You're
already
like,
did this together
Yeah, I feel
every
really
time.
good. You know, we
Every
as
time.
humans don't give each other that same feedback, do we?
No.
But something like this is like, yeah, I'm doing this right. Okay, let's go to the next step. Who typically goes on that home visit?
I do.
You mean, this doesn't know you yet, Katie, so what role do you play in the company?
The owner/CEO.
Okay, but what role would this be when we transition this to someone else?
What do you mean?
Like, you can't do this forever. Let's say you go to, let's say you decide to
my
go
favorite
open.
part of my
Well,
job.
you're going to go open up Twin Falls soon. Yeah, expand. So who's the type of person that you hire? What role and responsibility would that be?
Like, what would that person be like?
What's the name of, just give me the title of the person you're hiring. Is it
Client-
business development, client, what is it? Come
Business
on.
development.
I'll ask easier questions
Could
next
you?
time, Katie.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was bad. You know I love you to death, right? I'm really not trying to give you a hard time.
I do.
Okay, so help me understand what you're envisioning for the role. When you imagine the person who eventually owns this process, what would you call, okay, so business development, client coordinator, are we okay with that? It's giving you suggestions.
I love it.
Since we're having a hard time deciding. And that's the other cool thing about AI. It's like, oh, by the way, here's the thought, but just call it this. Great. Let's move forward, okay? What feels right for your company? What would you want that person's main job to be? Same thing, right? Client intake, having conversations with customers or potential clients, patients. Is it clients or patients?
Clients.
Clients. I know
Yeah.
medical is sometimes clients, sometimes patients.
Yeah.
It's really confusing to those of us that don't live in that world. Okay? All right? Now the next question we ask here is, okay, I'm imagining it's going to, the owner, we already did that part, but walk me through, so let's walk through it now. Let's walk through the process. Walk me through what happens during a home visit.
So when you walk in the door, you're obviously going to walk in with a big smile on your face, happy to be there. And the whole idea behind this is getting to know that client on a deeper level, them and their family members. So we're paying attention to not only what they're saying, but what they're not saying. We're looking around the home. We're noticing, is there a flag folded on the wall? Somebody's in the military. Pictures of family and friends on the wall. Motorcycles, little car kits, whatever you see, right?
You're understanding your target demographic.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we want the angel that goes and see them to be able to connect.
Exactly right. Okay? Now, once you've done this, what tools are you bringing in with you as you start these assessments? Just paper and pen? Like, what is it?
Well, not anymore.
Oh, tell me more.
Now I record it.
Yeah. That's awesome, right? You're recording the conversation so you don't have to sit there and take notes.
You
the whole
don't
time.
miss anything.
How does that change the customer experience for your clients?
Well, care plan is basically already written when you're done. And you have all of those notes, the client's actual responses and family's actual responses. So instead of me trying to describe what their vision for having an angel is, you can hear it from their own mouth.
Yeah, so imagine, Katie, now as you finish these, you've audio recorded these. You're not thinking, okay, I got to get back to the office and remember everything we just talked about to put it in the client care plan to go execute the work, right?
Yeah, this guy came to my office and recorded conversations and asked me why I wasn't doing that. And I said, because you've never came to my office and said that before.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Auto dictation is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and hopefully I saved you a few minutes. So it asks here the question, what kinds of questions are you asking during that visit?
So we want to know as much or as little as they want us to
Yeah.
know. So we kind of let family lead that. Obviously, we need to know major health diagnoses because we need to know how to respond to those things if something pops up. But medications, what time do you have breakfast?
Yeah.
What do you normally have for breakfast? And is that what you like? Do you like to have yogurt for breakfast, or would you like someone to cook you bacon and eggs?
Yeah.
So very detailed questions on every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
What are your favorite things to do? How do you pass your time? If you had somebody here with you, would you want to teach someone how to crochet because you look like you love to crochet? Like,
Yeah.
just very in depth.
Yeah, so cool. And you're the one owning this responsibility. You, Katie, or this business client relationship person, whatever we call it, is the one owning the process, right? Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to generate this example. As you can see on this right-hand side, we're 75% of the way there. I clicked the button a little bit too fast to say that Katie was the owner, but I'm going to click that. Now let's talk. While this is generating, and I'm going to generate a standard operating procedure here in just a minute, but what has this done for your business? What has, not me, Ryan, but what has the process of developing standard operating procedures that now can be executed done for your business?
It's freed up a lot of my time, simply because, like you said, taking someone with you, which we do, watching someone in person is one thing, but then having those things to refer back on over and over and over, because all of that, those questions, all of that stuff comes with time, right? Doing it over and over again. But now that we have the standard operating procedure, we don't wait to do client intakes. If I'm not there, someone else goes and does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else goes and does it.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? And you don't have to, the psychology of releasing something and having someone that can do the work is amazing. You went on a vacation recently?
I went on a vacation
Tell me about
recently.
that.
I had
Not all about the vacation, but
So
when
we
you were
went
there, what
fishing.
happened?
No, just kidding.
Yeah. You told me about this. I just want to bring it up. You're
no-
like, I didn't work.
Nobody called me. It was awesome.
Have you ever done that before?
No.
What did it look like before?
I would check in a couple of times a day. How are
Yeah.
things going? Do you need anything?
Yeah.
Or just, you don't need me to make that decision, but I'm happy to answer the phone. Like, it's shifted our entire office.
It's awesome. Big round of applause for Katie. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So the thing that I love about this is once you've generated your standard operating procedure, it looks something like this. Okay? Really detailed. We built the prompting framework behind the scenes, made it something now that she can go and utilize in your organization. Now, you remember I talked about access to information, right? Now she has this in her database. We have an AI assistant where you can go and search all of the standard operating procedures inside of your organization. And guess what? Now you don't have to wait for your manager to get back to you. You have access to it right here. And you can go execute the work based on the described standard operating procedure. Efficiency. The other thing that I thought is, if we could go one more step, how could we take and put this into application? And I don't have the time, unfortunately, but there's a little generate button here. And this generate button will create an image that looks just like this. It'll outline a process, and now you have a really good idea or a good look of people consume information differently, right? So in this case, here's that process. We can build this into an audio file from a training perspective. We can build it into a video file, so now your team has access to all the details that they need to execute the work, creating efficiency. And then finally, which is my favorite, you can actually take the work, and if you have more questions, Preston's been doing a great job with the Playbook Ops booth. You can go talk to him, but the most amazing thing about this is now from a project perspective and a click of a button, I can take my standard operating procedure and I can turn it into a project management workflow, something like, think about like Monday.com or ClickUp, assign people to it, and now the work is actually being done collectively, simplifying the process from start to finish. Now, I believe, we'll switch back here, and I know, Carolyn, you're going to come up here, but really, what if you created SOPs that took minutes, not months, not years? 3 different companies I've built, years to build the standard operating procedure, execute the work that's associated with it, and only 2 years later are we actually starting to see the value of doing that. But if you can do it in minutes and not months, you can voice dictate it, turn it into something that's workable for you, it will transform the way that you do business. And maybe transform is just peace of mind, knowing that when I go on vacation, I don't have to wait for somebody else. There's a better way. We already went through all this stuff, so I'm just going to come back. Great businesses don't rely on people. They're built by people, but they don't have to rely on people. They can rely on the systems that are developed to help grow and scale. And that, like I said when I started this, my desire is to help companies grow, is to build tools, instruments, rooms, relationships, connections to really help you guys grow and expand your business. And that's just what we love to do. It's my passion. That's my leadership brand, if you will. And go do it. Take action. Get to work. It's going to change your life. All right.